them Cowboys.
How about them? Big fat L's.
I have been laughing at Dallas for 5 straight days. It hasn't stopped.
Dude, all of the analysts, all of the TV minds, all last week, all they were saying is how it was going to be a blowout. Cowboys were just going to kick their ass.
It was a blowout.
And it was a blowout, but Dak said, here we go, right out of the playoffs. First round exit. You fucking love to see it. How about that? That cadence, by the way, the most annoying fucking cadence in the entire league.
I didn't think that it was possible to be annoyed by a cadence. Because no matter who you root for, your team, unless you're Cleveland and you started 5 different quarterbacks this year, your cadence really didn't change. Like if you're a Packers fan, you've been listening to Green 19 for how long? But it's never gotten annoying. It took me all of about 3 or 4 weeks to be fucking sick of Dak Prescott's. Yeah, here we go.
I'm pretty sure he wore a cowboy hat to the game with "Here we go" like on it. That's what I heard. And also too, like, imagine saying that and then throwing a pick six. Like,
yeah, here we go.
Here we go. Just giving the defense a free 7 points or whatever it was. I don't know if that's the extra point that was missed, but
I think that was the extra point that got missed. Yeah.
That was legendary though. That was such a legendary game. Holy shit.
I talking about the cadence, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Love got so much more respect from me just for taking a knee. Because if you listen to the cadence for taking a knee, he very quickly goes, yeah, here we go, set, and takes a knee. And the troll job of that stupid cadence made me just filled with joy. And wow, what a game.
Jordan Love came out and said apparently he wasn't trolling. It's actually just one of their cadences. And apparently he did say it in an earlier Chicago game in the season. But I like the troll aspect of it. I really enjoy the troll aspect.
He can say that to be a good sport because Jordan Love seems to be pretty, like, he seems like a guy. Like, he seems like a stand-up dude. Like, I haven't, like, heard any stories about him, like, being a bad dude. And so he can say that, but it's too good to not be a troll, right?
Yeah.
It's too good.
Also, very quickly, can I just say fuck the Fox broadcast? Every single person involved in the broadcast. Holy shit, what a bunch of homers, dude. Even at halftime, Jimmy Johnson, like, that dude was like driven to have a stroke on live television, trying to get the Cowboys like back in shape.
To, like, have a heart attack. He was angry.
Oh my god, dude! It's like fucking talk about the Packers kicking the Cowboys' ass. Don't come in here and be like, "Oh, Dallas," like, you know, we're gonna. It was like a Farley speech almost, you know, but like not even close to as good. It was he was trying to be Matt Foley, but he was like Zach Jolie or some like knockoff fucking stupid ass thing. We're gonna back in there and we're gonna win. We're gonna fight. We're gonna play. Like, dude, so stroke off camera.
He's obviously a legendary coach, right? But the cadence
30 years ago,
the cadence that he used in the broadcast, like just the tone of his voice, the way he's like, "We're gonna go get him. You can't give Jordan Love that much time." Like just like the just energy in his voice, the cadence of his voice. If he would have said that like with that tone in an NFL locker room, he's getting laughed out of the building, right?
Definitely.
Like it sounds fake. It sounded fake to me. Like I guess some people have come out and said like, "Oh, he was like really mad," and like that was like authentic him from his coaching days. But like to me, watching that, it just looked like just over the top. Like it's obviously a blowout. There's not much to talk about. They need ratings, so just let the old guy go off for a little while. That's what it felt like to me.
Which is what we do not. There's too much of that going on in this country. Old men speaking their mind when I don't want to fucking hear it. It's like, and then Strahan like had to bail him out by being like, "Oh, I'm so fired up," and then he like got down. I'm just like, dude, this is so cringe. Just how about we talk about the fact that the Packers are just fucking manhandling the Cowboys, and all
They
you clowns were
they didn't
wrong
know
before
how
the
to
game.
talk about it. They didn't know how to talk about
No.
the Packers being good because it was such a heavily pushed narrative that they were going to get just steamrolled like Dallas, like one of the best offenses in the league, top 5 defense. This is their year, right? Blah, 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 blah. No 7 seed has won a wild card game, whatever. Like the narratives were so stacked against Green Bay. By halftime, they're like, well, we got to do something. It just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. And then also oh yeah, here we go. Because Dak. um, also Greg Olson. How about that clown? Saying like 3/4 way through the game, oh Jordan Love, it's a good thing we didn't give you a turkey leg on Thanksgiving because you've been playing so much better since then. So you're welcome. It's
I
like
thought
fucking
that was
shut
actually
up,
pretty
dude. Oh my
funny. I
God.
thought that was pretty funny.
No, that was stupid. Him and that is it Kevin Burkhardt? That's the other guy.
I think so, yeah. No.
Yeah, they spent the entire. Isn't that who it is? Pretty
I,
sure they spent the entire second half trying to like convince America that the Cowboys still had a chance to come back in the game. It's like, God, you guys, shut the fuck up.
this is
Even
where
like when
I wish like hometown broadcasters could do national stuff. Right? I would love to
yes,
hear like the play-by-play radio guy for the Packers during that second
oh
half.
dude,
I feel like that would have been
Wayne
electric.
Larrivee. Wayne Larrivee is a goat. He was on some podcast this week saying that that was the earliest because his slogan or whatever, like his catchphrase is like, and there is your dagger. Like he said that was the earliest dagger that he's called for a Packers game since the 90s against the Cowboys. That was
Oh
the
wow.
previous earliest dagger he's ever called. So the Packers just stay beating the Cowboys, dude. Undefeated in Jerry World, including
Yep.
the Super
Here
Bowl.
we go.
It's basically Lambeau South. So the Packers basically, I mean, they own Lambeau, they own Soldier Field, and they own Jerry World too.
So
So
let's
it's
talk
just
about how
it's a
we did this. Let's talk about it.
yeah,
Let's break this down a little bit
yeah.
because I seem to remember us having some interesting predictions on this one in terms of how to get it
Yes.
done, right? We said, or at least
Yes.
I know that like what we said, Aaron Jones has got to be Aaron Jones, right? He's got to
Which he
control
was.
it, got to move it on the ground, and boy did he. I don't care if he's on our team next year or not. He will forever own the Cowboys. He just has a second gear when playing that team. It's just I can't explain it. 3 tutties and what was it, like a buck 15 or something like that? It was like he was up there.
Yeah. Yeah, he had 118 yards and 3
18.
tutties on 21 carries.
I read that wrong.
Yeah. It's like, dude, and honestly, if you look back to even the first drive of the game, like I think his first couple carries were for losses, like but that one where Love would have taken a sack, but they called like illegal contact downfield, that call, which was like the second play of the game, like I think it changed the trajectory of the game.
Yeah.
Because like the Packers would have been in like second and like 15 or second and long, like the first drive is already kind of in shambles, but the fact that that call came when it did, man, what a perfect time. And it was a legit call. They showed the replay, like, it was illegal contact. So but then after that, it was the Aaron Jones show on that first drive. They just fucking shoved it down.
It was the Aaron Jones show for the
Romeo
rest of the
Dobbs
first
got
half.
involved early. Yeah, it was amazing, dude. And honestly, it's crazy that the Packers put up 48 points without Jaden Reed getting a single catch.
Yeah. I thought he was going to be a lot more involved because like we didn't know what Watson was going to be like. Was he going to go? Was he not going to go? Would he be like impactful? And they didn't need him either.
No. Yeah.
But like I'm excited for this young offense because like you look at who we've got, right? And really like the OG of this offense now is Aaron Jones. And so you have all these young guys who can really just step it up. Now, like I think Jones is going to be a big question mark like moving forward. Like I think he said he was limited in practice this week, but like he's the catalyst for this offense. Jordan Love might run the offense, but it runs through Aaron Jones. Like it lives and dies with him.
Yeah. Yep. And Watson spent a good chunk of the game just basically running go routes, going deep and just drawing two defenders
Just
to
taking the
him,
top
which
off the
left
defense, allowing that like kind of like middle portion of the field with the undersized Dallas defense to just give up all these short little rushing plays and little dink and dunk passes until Jordan Love's like, screw it, someone's down there somewhere, and throws a bomb to Musgrave. Ugh.
Yeah, he was wide open. But dude, Romeo Dubs, talk about like 20,
Romeo
30-yard catches, just like middle of the field. That dude was on a tear, and it was really good to see him like get his. But even after the game, like they were interviewing, and even this week they were interviewing like Jaden Reed, I think, and it was like he even said he's like, oh, like as long as we win the game, we don't care who gets the touches and the catches and the touchdowns. So like, I just love the mentality, like the unselfish mentality of like,
yeah,
we just want to do whatever we can to win. I know I didn't have any catches last game, but I did impact the game. I know I impacted the game, and I can't wait to go do the same thing next weekend or this weekend. And
like them being so young, like they're all just happy to be there. Like these guys aren't starting on other teams. You go to a team like LA that's got like Nakua and Kopp. You go to like even a team like like the Eagles with
Cincinnati.
AJ Brown, and Cincinnati with Chase and not Higbee. What's his name? Higgins. Yeah,
T. Higgins.
Like they're not starting on those teams, and so they're just like they're all happy to be there. They're like, yeah, we earned this spot. Who cares if we get the catches? Like even if we're a decoy, doesn't matter. Like let's just do our job. Let's get the dub. Like they're so team oriented, and I think that comes from them just being like, yeah, they're all just young guys who are just taking advantage of this opportunity. They don't care. They don't have to be divas, So,
yep.
I want to talk about Jordan Love. It needs to be brought up. And I can see you're starting to make a face over there, but it needs to be brought up. Dude's a dog. He did exactly what he needed to do to win that game. And I'm not even going to talk about the plays that he made, because to me, what he was doing pre-play was more important, was more like what the future's going to be like in Green Bay. Because like clearly he's got the arm talent, the accuracy is starting to figure itself out, the timing's starting to figure itself out. Like something happened to this man. He's gotten more confident, but the biggest thing that I've been seeing is he's making checks. He's checking out of stuff. He's reading the defenses. He's putting the offense in a position to like be successful. And all of it is like LaFleur has been empowering all of it. It's not like the narrative of like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is doing all this stuff in spite of LaFleur. It's like LaFleur is empowering Jordan Love to and coaching him to like be able to check into these things. And there was a story of the play that went to what's his name? 13.
Wicks.
Yes, Wicks. That play, they called it and Love checked out of it because he didn't like the defense. And it ended up going for like a 20-yard rush. And then later on, LaFleur he looks at LaFleur and he's just like, let's just go again. And then boom, touchdown. Like that's the type of like chemistry that I think we could come to expect in Green Bay again. Like that, it just reminds me of like vintage Aaron Rodgers when him and McCarthy were just tearing the league up way back in, when they won a Super Bowl 2011, when they went 15-1. And I don't know, I'm excited because I'm seeing that I'm seeing this stuff pre-play that gives me hope that this guy's gonna be good.
Dude, I'm probably gonna be eating my words in the next couple of years. But I will say that touchdown to Dobbs, the last one, where like they went for it on 4th and 2. They went for it on 4th and 2. That thing was a fucking missile, and it was like a right on the money. I was like, holy shit, that was an insane pass. And they actually showed a clip from like 30 years ago of Brett Favre. It was like the same exact play and the same exact throw, like for a touchdown against the Cowboys. Like I thought that was super sick.
I remember.
Yeah, dude.
I was watching this and people were coming like in and out of my apartment, and I turned to my roommate and I said, I wouldn't even make that throw in Madden.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That was just, it was incredible. And that type of flash gives me a lot of hope that the Packers are not like, we might have found him. We might have found a guy.
dude, it's crazy the difference. I will that's where I will give him props is like the decision making has gotten better,
Hmm.
if anything. Like just the beginning of the season was just it was god awful, right? Like you're looking at these like they're in all these games. They have the ball going down the field in the final drive, and he throws a pick. Right, it just throws into double coverage, makes it the dumbest decision of his life. But like, yeah, I saw a guy in Dallas who was like avoiding sacks, getting the ball out quickly, like making the right reads, the right checks. So that's I'll give him his props for that game. He did play
So
pretty
if
okay.
if I'm Jordan Love, regardless of what happens on Saturday, I'm taking this
Oh,
offseason
they better
as
win.
I'm taking this offseason as like this is like I'm reviewing the whole season, like in its entirety, every game, every throw, and I'm finding those moments that were the comfort and the like good decision making and the ability to read. I'm finding those moments and I'm just picking them out and doing whatever I can to recreate that through training camp and through OTAs and the off-season program to pick up where you left off, right? This is where a lot of like good rookie QBs regress is in that second year. And in all intents and purposes, he's a rookie QB to me. Like this is his first year, right? So you see it happen to sophomore slump. It happens to a lot of guys because they go like, oh, I've got this figured out, right? And then they go and they start making some of the same mistakes they made earlier. They stop getting away with some of the lucky shit they got in their rookie year, right? Take everything that you did right and try to recreate that as much as possible. So when the start of the season gets here, we can just have a pickup right where we left off with Jordan Love being comfortable in the pocket, comfortable at the line of scrimmage, knowing what's going on, making good decisions, not feeling like he has to force it, and just playing the way he's played down the stretch here. Just like don't regress.
Yeah, I won't give him any rope to regress because it's not his sophomore season. So he better not slump. There's no excuses for it in my opinion. I don't care that this is his first year as a starter. I want if there's any regression at all, he's gonna get fucking roasted by me 100% next year on this podcast. You
I'm
can
sure
guarantee
that's
it.
on the top of his list of like, oh man, this guy in Colorado better not have bad things to say, man. I can't let this guy down.
Hey, hey, you never know. He might start listening. You never fucking know.
Hey,
But I just gave him his props. Like he had a really good. There was a really good showing. The defense played really well. Dak was in shambles most of the game. I consider the final score to be 48-16.
as do I.
Also a little bit of a blunder by LaFleur there. I mean, I love Clifford as much as anybody. I want to see him in games, but goddamn, dude, what are we thinking here? It's a little too early to pull the start, especially on defense. It's like holy shit, bro. And then like just classic
Well,
garbage time. Dak,
yeah.
you know, he ends up leading in passing yards because of that. And but he overall had a terrible game, and it was really fucking hilarious
If you're a
to watch
Cowboys
him just be in
fan, there's
shambles.
only one way to look at Dak's stats. You have to look at it when the game is over. Right? A lot of people say it was over at
Right.
27 nothing. I
I
say
mean,
no. You got to
yeah,
put that away. You got to come out after half. You got to keep that energy up because how many teams have we seen? Like look at Atlanta, 28-3, right? They still haven't lived that one down. Um,
right.
you
Oh,
gotta be able to hold that, and to Green Bay's credit, they did. Dallas they drive down and they score some points, and then we immediately answer. Like there was no unanswered points from Dallas until we started playing prevent defense and basic run the ball, drain the clock offense. So um,
yeah.
what I'm nervous about is that they're gonna get cocky. That's what I'm nervous about because like they all know they're playing with house money and San Francisco's our kryptonite. Like they gotta prepare for this week more than what they did with Dallas. So
And it's a short week. I don't
yeah.
I don't see that happening. Honestly, I still think they're a bunch of guys like with little to no playoff experience besides like Aaron Jones and Jair and some
Hmm.
of the vets
Yeah.
um, that are just feeling loose, feeling free. Like it's it's really tough, like right, like a streak like this, like they're 0-4 against San Fran, right? It's
Hmm.
with Rodgers, like they haven't beat them in the playoffs since the '90s. I'm pretty sure, maybe the early 2000s. I'm not It was when Favre was still around, but it's like it's a fine line between like, oh, like I heard a bunch of them saying this week, like, oh, this is the present, right? Like this isn't the past anymore. Like
Mhm.
we're not thinking about those past games, or maybe I wasn't here for that. Um, but it's like a fine line to walk that because the fans who have been around for a while, like we come into these games watching, like I'm more nervous for this game. Like I didn't think the Packers had a chance to be where they're at right now. Like I wanted them to beat Dallas. Like it was a homer pick for me, but like I wasn't nervous at all that last week about that game. But there's just something about San Francisco, the history between us, recent history in the playoffs, like as a fan, that just like gives me a little PTSD, right? Like,
Yeah,
so you kind of
absolutely.
have, it's like you have to walk this line of like catering to the fan base a little bit. Like we understand that you're worried, but this is a new era, right? So like but as a fan, you're kind of just like, oh yeah, I understand, but also it's San Francisco. Like how many heartbreaking losses have we had to them, you know,
And
in the past 10
especially in the
years,
Kyle Shanahan era,
12
like
years?
it's not an it might be a new
Yeah,
era in Green Bay, but like Shanahan's
it's
still
not in San
there.
Fran.
You know, some of the guys who have been smoking us, Nick Bosa. I mean, I know he's doing his thing. McCaffrey, was he? No, he
Dude.
wasn't on the team that beat us a couple years ago. But like Kittle's still there,
No.
Samuel's still there, Ayuk is still there. You know, like those are the same
Mm.
guys who have been running our number up, and
Yeah.
so like it might
Yeah.
be a new era for us, but it's also like it's not just about you; it's about your opponent too. Like who you're playing matters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I
um,
think the fans also appreciate that acknowledgement a little bit. Like speaking just a side tangent a little bit, like being a Minnesota Twins fan, right? Like they hadn't until this October, they hadn't won a playoff game in 18, or they lost 18 straight playoff games, right? Like the last time they won a playoff game was like in the early 2000s. It was like they were in like the ALCS, I think. It was the last time they won a playoff game. And it's like, these players, they come in and they're like, oh, I don't think about the streak at all. Like, I wasn't a part of it. It's like, well, you weren't, but the franchises. And like, we need, like, as fans, again, it's that PTSD of like, can I really take another loss? Like, do I really just want to be invested, get my hopes up again, all just to have it crumbling down,
mhm.
and then I look like an idiot for cheering for you, and then you're just gonna be like, oh well, like whatever. So this San Fran game makes me really fucking nervous. I'm excited that they're there, that they have this chance and this opportunity to go there and try to play, try to take down the 1 seed. But also like if I would be crazy if I didn't say that I'm like expecting a loss a little bit just because of the past. Like you just never know. And like LaFleur's history going to the West Coast and just getting blown out every single time.
Yeah,
Ugh, like all that just still in my head. Like we still like it's a new era, new players. The defense is somewhat similar. Like Kenny Clark's been there for all those losses. Rashawn Gary's been there for all those losses.
Jair,
Jair's been there for all those losses. Savage
Savage.
has been there for all those losses. It's like, all the recent ones anyway, and like since the 2020 championship game. So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah, maybe on one side of the ball it's a bunch of new guys, but
I feel like the
on the
energy
defensive
this
side,
year
who
is a little
I'm
bit
getting,
different though, because
I know,
I feel like the last couple of years, San Fran's come to town and they beat us the last time we played. And before that, it was them in the NFC Championship game where we walked down there and just got absolutely run over in the literal sense. But I feel like the energy is
yeah,
different this year. Like this year, we're not like the top seeded Packers who have to show out, right? We're the guys playing with house money. We're the guys we're the underdogs, and I think that kind of changes the mentality a little bit. They're not so worried about the what if this year. It feels like they're like, what if you get off to a bad start? What if this? What if McCaffrey does McCaffrey things? Like they're not. It doesn't seem like they're worried about the what ifs, and they're just focused on playing the game. They're playing. They're focused on playing their
yeah,
game, and that it feels good. It feels good. I am worried though because this San Francisco, if they've shown us anything this year, is that they like if they want to, they're not gonna give you a window to win.
right.
That's just who they
See,
are as a team. They're tough. They run. The defense can smother you. Purdy's safe with the football most of the day, most of the time. They've got weapons in the receiving room. We got weapons in the running back room. We got weapons in the tight end room. The offensive line can hold. So and Shanahan is just a great coach. And so there's no telling what's going to happen. But if Green Bay goes out there and plays their game, I'll say like worst teams have beaten the 49ers this year.
Yep. I think the bet the like and like we can maybe debate this too, but there's something to be said about like having a first round bye, but also sitting your players the last week of the season for fear of injury. It's like it's that fine line of like I think Dan Campbell experienced it a little bit too, just like with the Lions in Week 18, like with a few of their guys getting hurt, and it's like, oh, should we have played them or whatever?
Yeah.
But it's like you think about in more recent, I guess in like farther back history with the Packers against the Giants in 2011, right? Like you're 15-1. Rodgers doesn't play like the last 2 weeks or whatever, the last week, and then they have the bye. So it's been like all of a sudden it's been 3 weeks since your starters have played, and like
There could be some
I don't care
cobwebs,
who
some
you are,
rust.
like yes, it doesn't matter how like when you take 3 weeks off like that. I mean, you're still getting the reps in practice, whatever maybe, but it's like still like you can't. There's something to be said about in-game snaps and like you look at in more recent history with Lamar Jackson, every time he gets a bye, he takes an L. So it's like because they rest and it's like they look rusty and then Derrick Henry's running all over you. So it's like
I look at the
the
energy
best,
side of it,
the best.
right? Like I totally agree with you, but I look at the energy side of it because like football is an intense game. It's intense. If especially if you're on either of the lines, you're trying to oppose your will on the guy in front of you. And when you take time off from that and the other guys don't, they can keep that intensity, right? I look at some of these teams who have had first round buys, and like even teams who have like won their games, a lot of them come out kind of flat. A lot of them kind of come out
Yes,
kind of low energy and flat. Like, okay, here we go. Like I'm fresh, but I'm not intense, right? Like
right.
that level of intensity, it's almost a requirement to play football, especially if you're a ground and pound type of in the trenches team, like we know San Francisco is, we know Baltimore is, right? Those are the teams that like they got to win in the trenches to win. And um I think that's a big reason why some of these guys take L's. Like I don't think it's entirely Lamar Jackson's fault if the offensive line comes out flat. Their run game doesn't work, and that's the foundation of their
Yeah,
scheme over there. Especially in those early Lamar Jackson years. So,
yeah. There's something to be said about building momentum, stacking
mhm.
momentum, like stacking wins and like just trajectory going like you know kind of moving up and then like I think that's I think that's what honestly what gives the Packers a shot is if San Fran after 2 weeks or whatever rest, 3 weeks since their starters have played a game, like if they do come out a little flat, like that gives the Packers an opportunity to kind of like seize that opportunity and just like jump on it and maybe like start hot and like build a little bit of a lead. I think again this week for me it's the same recipe to win. I think you got to use Aaron Jones. They have a I think their defensive line's a little bit better than Dallas's. I think like
Mhm. They're not undersized.
you're not yeah, you might not see as many like 7-8 yard carries, but LaFleur just has to be patient and stick with it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to rain. It's going to be muddy. It's going to be raining there all weekend. Just stick with the run. Even if it's not working right away, just don't get away from it.
If there
And
is
just
ever
like
a
because
weekend
you
to play
have
them, it's
you
this
have to
weekend right
establish it.
now
Yes, yes.
because of
And
the
I
weather.
think doing that, doing that, and again, if you win the coin toss, take the fucking ball
Yep.
and go down and score because you want to play with a lead. You especially with a team that's rested a few weeks, you
Mhm.
want to kind of get them on their heels a little bit. Think like, oh fuck, like we got to wake up now.
Don't let them
You
rev
want to
up
get
that
them
energy,
to be in
right? Don't let
shambles.
them get those early
Yes,
momentum swings. Like I think
yes,
one of the worst
yes,
possible things we could do is, defer to the second half and then give up like a long, tiresome touchdown drive that allows the offensive line of
yes.
San
Agreed.
Francisco to be like, yeah, we're revved up. We got this. You can't stop us. Because when that line gets going and McCaffrey's firing behind him, like, oh my God, it's impossible to stop. So like that's
Yeah,
the worst thing
yeah.
we could do.
E- even if your first drive only ends in three, at least you get three,
Take the points.
right? Like you take the points. And so I think that's what the Packers have to do again is just be consistent, be dedicated to the run, to set up the pass, and like I'm hoping AJ Dillon can go because I want to be able to like have him and Aaron Jones in at the same time, send Aaron Jones out wide, have AJ be that blocker against like that second blocker against Nick Bosa, right? Like just somebody, and we always just need an extra body in there. Yeah, because if I'm being honest, Nick Bosa and Christian McCaffrey are the two things that scare me the most about the 49ers. Like Nick Bosa is a fucking game wrecker. He's insanely good. And McCaffrey also is the same way.
So
like,
I want to shout out the Packers offensive line, right? They didn't allow like any sacks against that like very imposing defense of Dallas in terms of like Micah Parsons and I forget the other guy, but they have to ride that. They have to ride that momentum.
Yeah, the one sack allowed ended up being that illegal contact, so it got negated anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, also Jordan Love just being like having awareness and being elusive and just like not standing there and taking a sack. Yeah, just like him.
And that's where the play action really comes into place, right? That's where that play action really frees Jordan Love because now when he's running on these bootlegs, getting away from that just interior pressure that just cripples the Green Bay line. And so get him out. Get him out there. Don't just drop him back in shotgun and say good luck. Don't do that. Please don't do that, LaFleur. You know better.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the last thing that scares me is LaFleur when he's coaching against his buddies, his pals, his friends.
I feel like he has to feel like I feel like he
little brother
tries to outsmart Kyle Shanahan and it never works.
Yeah.
Like he tries to play Shanahan's game and it hasn't worked out for him.
Just use your game plan. Go in with what you think will work and try it out and follow your script. And
I'll say it here. I think Jordan Love is better than Brock Purdy. Use that, right? Allow him to make his checks and his reads. Don't try to bottleneck him. I
just got a scary thought in my head.
Do tell.
I hope to God LaFleur does. I hope to God LaFleur this isn't one of those games where he tries the end around to Jaden Reed like 10 times and it doesn't work.
Oh
my God. I hope not.
Oh no, please. It doesn't work for us. It works occasionally. Don't make it a staple of the game plan.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Make it something. So, it should be used just like a screen pass, something to just kind of take the pins out of that defensive line's ears. Just something to keep them more a little aware, right? Because when they're aware, they don't have that just bull rush mentality. They're a little bit more like, oh, like we might have to move laterally here. So yeah, no, I agree. Don't make it a staple of the game plan, please.
Yeah,
ooh,
please.
That's a scary thought. That is a very scary thought.
Oh boy. I know. It just popped in my head. So.
I don't want to think about it. Don't put that in the universe.
I'm also glad it's a Saturday night game. I know the Packers have a short week, but I just in the playoffs, man, especially like these first two rounds, I just want the game to come as soon as possible. I'm excited to watch it. Like I just want it to be here, and like I don't want to wait till Sunday. Like, no, thank you. So, I just want to end my analysis here as like I did not like at the beginning of the season. I did not expect the Packers to be playing in the divisional round. I'm really grateful and happy that they're here. And that being said, I'm kind of like, I'm starting to build up this like, man, do they have a shot at this thing? And so that's where my nerves come in a little bit. So I'm a little more nervous this week than last week, but I'm excited that they have this opportunity. And yeah, I think like no matter what happens, as long as it's a close game, like I think you can kind of chalk it up as like great playoff experience having two playoff games against the 1 and 2 seeds in the NFC in the year that you made it in. So, and being the first 7 seed to win a playoff game is just fucking sweet too. So, yeah, yep.
So where I'm going to finish my analysis of this Green Bay team here is you're still playing with house money. Don't get too caught up in the moment, right? This moment's not too big for you. This is a team that is a couple years away from back to back one or was it back-to-back 1 seats? I don't think so. Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, we're not that far removed. The moment's not too big. You're playing with house money, and this is your get the monkey off your back game. Like, if you can take down San
Yes.
Francisco, who's your nemesis left in the NFC? So,
Detroit or the Bucks.
if you like, and I'm talking about just like playoff wise, like we own Dallas, but San Francisco owns us. So like this is our chance to break that.
Yes.
And then after that, who owns us? Nobody. And that's the mentality. Like
Right.
we get these guys off our back, nobody can touch us. So go in there, play your game, ride the momentum. You just knocked off a 2 seed. Don't get cocky. Just stay the course. Stay true to who you are in your game plan. Don't try to play the Niners game because that's how they get you. It's enticing. And so, but I'm just like you. I didn't think we would at all be here in the divisional round after just knocking off a 2 seed. But we're here, and we have the chance to be the first ever 7 seed to make it to a championship game this weekend, and that's pretty special. And regardless of what happens, man, we got some great experience for next year. We're going to have a squad next year, I think, that can build off of this no matter what happens on Saturday. So, Packers, way to go. Way to get here. It's been a journey.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go. Let's talk about some of the other games that happened this week. Wild Card weekend was interesting, to say the least. This was a very... It's a very weird week. Let's start with the first game of the season. We had Cleveland coming in as a 5 seed to take on the 4 seed Houston Texans. And yeah. Go ahead. Rub it in. Go ahead.
My boy, CJ Stroud. Holy shit, dude. He was on a fucking tear in that game. Let's go. Oh my God. That was so much fun to watch. Flacco, congratulations. You led the Browns to the playoffs, but it's like those 2 picks in a row, man. Sorry, just can't have them. And the Texans in front of their home fans, CJ Stroud looking like, I think his game was like almost identical to Jordan Love's actually, which is
he passed for 2 more yards.
The stats were
he passed for 2 more yards.
The stats were so. Way to ball out, bro. That was sick. And I know I definitely picked the Texans to win. I think I don't know, man. Just there's something about him where he just, the moment doesn't look too big for him. I don't think he gets really rattled. It's kind of like he's got that same Jordan Love aspect of you never see the look in his eyes of oh shit,
Yeah.
He just it doesn't panic. And so yeah, it's they just ended up cooking the Browns. So
the first thing I'm going to say about this game is shame on you, NBC, for censoring, cutting short CJ Stroud's post-game interview. I don't care what the point is. You can't do it. You can't have it. You just can't have it. It's unprofessional. It's cheap, and you just can't have it. I don't care what they're talking about. You can't have it. We all know you did it. Don't let that shit happen again. You're better than that. Be better than that. Now that that's out of the way.
I mean,
huh?
They took 2 blunders. NBC did that weekend. That, and then also having a game on Peacock.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the game on Peacock. We'll talk about that. But
no, I know. But that's NBC.
Yeah, that is NBC. But I had to say that. Shame on you, NBC. You should be better than that. That being said, I was half right in my prediction. I predicted a shootout that eventually the Cleveland defense would make a stand, and I was right in the sense that Houston did go off. They did go off. But I was wrong in the sense that Cleveland was going to keep up with them. Elite Joe Flacco just he started doing his world famous arm punts, and it cost Cleveland their season. And you know what? Good on you though, Joe Flacco. You took them to the playoffs. You played really well at the end of that season. You essentially saved that team from purgatory, and the ride had to end sometime, bud. You had a good run. That was great. But here comes reality. CJ Stroud, what a guy. What a guy. He might be one of my new favorite quarterbacks to watch coming into this next season, in this next round of the playoffs. He is electric.
Definitely.
But the Houston's moving on. They're gonna go take on the 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a great matchup. Let's move on to the Peacock game. Now, we already got into this a little bit. NBC Peacock, shame on you. That was disgusting, and the ratings reflect that. What was it? Essentially 50% of the Green Bay Dallas game is what the ratings showed for the
20,
Dolphins at Chiefs.
20, 20 million less viewers. I mean, that's what happens when you put it behind a fucking paywall. So,
And
also,
I know a
Jesus,
lot of
the
people
Miami.
who went to like one person has like Peacock because they have Xfinity or whatever. So like they're not paying for it because it's in part of their internet. So everyone just goes over to their house and just watches the game. So it's like you didn't stop no one from watching it. Like bars had it, we all had it, but you're not getting the money that you thought you would from it.
Yeah. I was completely wrong about the Dolphins. You were completely right. They did not show up. Their defense, it looked like they didn't want to tackle anybody. It was too cold for them. Jesus, I don't care how much money you spent on those tickets. I would have just stayed at home and sat on my couch, dude. I heard on the radio they were saying that like I think they got 15 or more EMS calls to the stadium.
The last
Most of it
I
was
saw,
hypothermia, and
the
then
last
some
I
was
saw
some
per
was
sources
frostbite.
was like 67. It was up there. It was a
Oh,
lot.
okay,
There was a lot, and that was for
yeah.
things from is like as small as like minor frostbite to like full blown hypothermia.
So it's like I don't care. Like it's just not worth it, man. That would have been fucking miserable. I saw people taking their shirts off. Those people were obviously trashed drunk
Psychopaths.
because like otherwise why would you? Those are the people that got hypothermia.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it was never really a game. The Dolphins were never really in it. They just Tua looked like he was in shambles the entire game. Uh, Casey's defense held them up, and yeah, then the Chiefs just kind of capitalized on offense, doing the bare minimum of what they needed to do to win. So
So this game to me screams the Dolphins weren't ready. Like I look at what the Chiefs did, and they played well, especially the defense. Like they played well, but I'm not sure the Dolphins made them play well or if they were just good, because the Dolphins showed up just not ready. It was obvious. Like
yeah,
from the play calling down to the defense not willing to hit to Tua making just terrible decisions. That was a team that was not ready for the moment. They weren't ready for the cold. They weren't ready for the Chiefs. They just weren't ready. That team was in shambles when they got into the building, and it showed.
yeah,
And I feel for them. Playing in that type of cold cannot be easy, but you don't see the Chiefs complaining, right?
right,
If you want to be a
right.
championship team,
Yeah,
you got to be a championship team no matter where you're playing and no matter who you're playing. And I love
yeah,
McDaniel. I think he is a phenomenal coach. I wish he was here in Denver. He did not have his team prepared. I don't think he should
no,
be fired at all or anything. Like I've heard that narrative come around, like, oh, get him out. No, that guy's what the Dolphins need right now. But they need something, whether it's a veteran presence or another coach, like a coordinator or like a strength and conditioning coach. They need someone to preach toughness in that locker room because they didn't have it. They aren't a
yeah.
tough team and they don't play well when they're uncomfortable, and that's how you get that result. Like they didn't deserve to win that game. They shouldn't have won that game, and they didn't win that game. It's just that simple. Learn to be tough.
And yeah, and now Mahomes is playing his first road playoff game, like not including Super Bowls, obviously, but his
Yeah.
first road
Yep.
playoff game, which is insane to me to think
And
that he's had every game at home.
how fitting is it that he's going to Buffalo?
I know. Honestly, though, those fans are gonna let him fucking have it, dude.
They hate him. I want to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about the Buffalo Bills fans before we get into that
Pittsburgh game.
game.
Oh,
Because these fans, I'm just gonna say this, like I'm a Broncos fan, I'm a Packers fan, I'm split down the middle 50-50. The Bills are my favorite fan base. The Bills are my favorite fan base. These people are electric. I don't know a single other fan base in the NFL that would just do the things that these Bills fans have been doing. I found today the story of the Pit. Now, the Buffalo Bills they're getting a new stadium, right? It's going to open in I think like 2026 or something like that. So they've broken ground, and there's this big 40-foot pit. And apparently every week since the Bills have started winning, at least one person has jumped into this pit. Now, I'm not encouraging or condoning this. Don't jump into this pit. It's a 40-foot fall. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get arrested. Don't do it. But at the same time, how fucking electric is that? You've got these Bills fans jumping in a pit for a new stadium to be like, whoa, if we stop, we'll quit winning. How electric is that? Oh my gosh. And then you add that on top of the fact that they go in and they shovel their own seats. They shovel their stadium. They shovel the field. Like, yeah, they got paid $20 an hour to do it. But like, this fan base is one of a kind, and I'm here for it. Bills Mafia, never change. I love you. I'm so happy you guys are still in it right now. You guys deserve a Super Bowl. You're my favorite fan base. Never change.
Yeah, dude, that's pretty. They just have so many great traditions, and yeah, like even now this whole pit thing, it's just kind of like, man, you guys are fucking crazy.
They're psychopaths, and I love it.
Yeah, crazy in a good way. Now I know the Packers fans too, like they shovel out Lambeau and like they help with that stuff too. But I think like all too often you hear people going to games at Lambeau and you still have that old ass crowd there, and they're telling everybody to sit down, and they're just complaining. Like, you don't get any of that in Buffalo. I bet you go there, you get trashed at the tailgate, you go inside, and you're just fucking.
If you're sitting in your seat at a Buffalo Bills game, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
right. That crowd's always on their feet.
That intensity and hype needs to be brought to Lambeau.
I'm almost sad that the new stadium for Buffalo is going to be smaller. Like, it's going to seat like 10,000 less people. I'm almost sad. Like, It's going to be incredible. It's going to be loud as hell. I don't know if you've seen the renderings of it, but they've got canopies over it because the biggest, like the fans, they asked the fans when they were designing it. They said, did you want do you want a dome? And all the fans said, no, football's out. Like, this is an advantage. This is our advantage out here. So they didn't dome it for that reason. But the fans were like, can we please get like covered seating? So they've put the canopy around it like a soccer style, essentially, where the canopy covers like 70% of the seats. So unless you're sitting in like the bottom, maybe about 20, 30 rows or something, you're not going to have a whole heck of a lot of snow on your seat. And like, that's exactly what Bills Mafia asked for. They're going to make that building electric. That canopy is going to reflect sound straight down. It's going to be great. That's going to be a loud place, but I'm sad less people get to go to the game now because those Bills fans are so electric.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's talk about the game now with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, what more is there to say than Pittsburgh? Just they're Pittsburgh. Mike
this
Tomlin
is the one game I don't think
season.
Either of us watched, right?
No. I mean, a Monday afternoon, MLK. I know a lot of people had the holiday off, but
we did not.
I didn't get to watch. But yeah, classic Tomlin season with a subpar quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like above 500 again, make the playoffs as like the last seed in the, or the lowest seed in the AFC, and then just get blown out in the first round. It's just kind of another year. Wrap it up. Buffalo was going to win that game. They were always going to win that game, especially with TJ Watt not playing. So. Yeah. That's kind of all I have to say, really.
I don't really have anything else to add to that. I'm just like, Pittsburgh, congratulations. Yeah. You made it to another playoff loss. Tomlin's going to keep his job for another year. I will say, I love Mike Tomlin. He was asked in the post game about his contract. A reporter's like, you have 1 year left on your contract. And he didn't even let her finish the question. He just left. And I have so much respect for that. He's like, I just lost a playoff game. I'm cold. I'm miserable. I don't want to be here. Bye. It just left. Like, yep. I wish more coaches would do that, especially Todd Bowles. Have you seen this from Tampa Bay? Have you seen this? There was a reporter who was asking the head coach of the Buccaneers about the weather in Detroit. They were saying like, it's going to be like 14 or 15 degrees, and I have so much respect for this guy because he could have been so mean. He's like, well, we play indoors. They've got a dome up there. We're going to be outside for 20 seconds max. Like,
oh my God.
those type of media
how
questions are why coaches need to walk out of media sessions more. Players need to walk out of media sessions.
yes.
I don't care if that's like not the like main reporter, like if someone was sick that day, because that's what the narrative I'm hearing. Like I was just a replacement person who just hung out to dry by a producer. And it's like, I don't care, right? I don't
Doesn't matter.
care.
Dude,
There's no excuse for that. This is the pros. Like if this is the pro sports, it's got to be the pro media. Don't be doing that. Do a little research. Come on. How hard is it to find out they play in a dome? If you know the weather, you should know that they've got a dome. Come on.
And Detroit's played in domes for like the last 40 years.
Yeah, it's not like they just built one either. Yeah, that's true.
No.
Amateur hour.
Ford Field's 20 years old at least. Ford Field's like almost 30 years old at this point. And then the place they had before that was also a dome.
Yeah,
so
the Pontiac Dome.
Do your fucking research. It's like producer okay, but also like you have to, as a reporter, if you're gonna ask a question like that, you better fucking verify yourself. Like it doesn't take that. It doesn't take that long to be like to Google. Does Detroit play in a dome? Right? Like it doesn't. Like
you don't even need that. You should be like, just, hey Google, show me a picture of Detroit's football field, and they'll show you it's very obviously a dome. If you can Google the weather, you can Google the stadium. So,
did you see balloons just fly up on my screen?
No, I didn't. Did you do that?
I was just sitting like this, and balloons just went up.
You're welcome. I don't know how I did it, but I'm blaming myself for the magic. Giving you balloons for making a good point about how idiot the media is, how stupid they are. Yeah. There's no excuse for that.
In the last few weeks, they're just proving it, right? Like that lady who didn't know who Jair Alexander was when she was standing outside of Lambda. Like, how the fuck do you not know who this guy is?
I love Jair, man. He's my favorite. Oh my gosh. There's no excuse.
You heard it here first from a fan. Like, yeah. Come on, lady. Are you kidding me? Jesus.
There's no excuse. It's just that simple. But let's talk about this game. I want to talk about this game not because of the Buccaneers, and I feel bad. They played a great game. They played one hell of a game. They beat up on the Eagles, but there's a bigger narrative at play here. Just like Green Bay beating Dallas, there's a bigger narrative at play, and that's the collapse of the Philadelphia Eagles. The absolute meltdown from top to bottom, coaching to backup kicker. You know, like every person on that roster, maybe excluding Jason Kelce, had a meltdown. There's complete and utter collapse, and there is no excuse for it. That team should have lost, and they did.
Dude, I can't believe they started the season 10-1. That's crazy to me.
I think it just goes to show you, you know, if you've got, you know, a good system or good players and stuff, you can do that consistently. But if you've got good players in a bad system, it will fall apart. They got figured out. And once one team did it, it's a copycat league. They figured the Eagles out. And once they did, it was just a collapse from there. Like once things stopped working, you see the frustration start to boil, and you see the mistakes start to become more obvious, and you see teams start to really explode on the weaknesses of the Eagles a lot more, and that just adds to the frustration. And it was just an unrecoverable tailspin from top to bottom. And I think, man, I really think, like, I didn't think Gannon going to Arizona was really like that big of a move, but wow, did it have an effect on that defense. They are nothing like what they were this time last year.
Yep.
So I feel bad for Jason Kelce. Like that's how he retires, but oof. Yikes.
Shout out to ex-Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield to get into the divisional round.
Made it further than the Browns did.
Yep.
I'm happy for him. I've never disliked Baker Mayfield. I've disliked some of the things that he's done, but like him as a person, he seems like a guy who you can root for, especially if you like underdogs. He always seems to be an underdog for some reason, and he went out and he had himself a game. Yep. He had himself a game.
Yep.
So they move on and they take on the Detroit Lions in the divisional round of the playoffs here. Detroit, Matthew Stafford coming home.
Mm-hmm.
To boos and jeers, and he played well. I'll give Matthew Stafford credit. He was not the reason why the Rams lost that game. He had him. And this is exactly the outcome I think a lot of Detroit fans would have wanted. Matthew Stafford had a good game. because they still rooted for him, and he lost. Their team won, and it didn't come at the expense of Stafford.
Nope, came at the expense of the refs.
Yep. I hate that that's how it happened, but like we all saw it coming, right? One of these games was going to go down to the ref ball.
Dude, fucking A, that hit to the knees, like, come on. And that Lions defender did that a couple weeks ago too to TJ Hawkinson. Like, he's done it. He's a dirty player, man. That was just a dirty fucking hit.
Yeah,
and how there's no flag
that.
For that is insane to me.
It just shows how inconsistent the NFL is, really.
Yeah,
I don't think that crew's roughing another game. I think they're one of the two crews that get axed this weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
Because now, obviously the narrative is, they won their first playoff game in 30 years, and the Rams, they're like, yeah, we were happy to be there, we made it, we've got stuff to build on. This was a rebuilding year for us anyway. Whatever, fine. They move on to whatever's going to happen next year. So the narrative now is the ref ball instead of what it could have been, like a really great showdown. And I honestly think that LA would have won that game if not for the ref ball there. So
yeah, I agree.
That wraps up Wild Card Weekend. Though.
Yeah, getting another home playoff game. Yep. So it was pretty lit to see Eminem there and like the crowd going crazy to Lose Yourself. Like, that was fucking dope.
That was cool.
He's probably been waiting for this for a long ass time. But yeah, man, Wild Card Weekend was crazy, and
sure
the Packers are still in it. Holy fucking shit. Holy fucking shit.
So let's talk about the game starting tomorrow.
Yeah, should we end with just picks? Who we think?
Yeah, just a couple picks and projections here, and then we'll send it off to the interwebs for people to value our 100% accurate opinions.
Yep, always accurate.
Let's start with the Saturday games.
Yeah, Saturday games. We've got the first one is going to be Houston at Baltimore. It's going to be ESPN. You're going to have Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who is probably also in shambles for the fact that he's not calling a Cowboys divisional round game this year. They're going to be calling that one. Like I was saying earlier, Lamar Jackson on a bye. You know how many playoff wins Lamar Jackson has?
Isn't it just one?
Yeah. Who else has one playoff win?
CJ Stroud.
Yep. Dude, I know Baltimore's really good. I know they're really good. But whenever I see Lamar on a bye, I don't know, man. He hasn't proved it to me yet. This game, for me, it could go either way. I think the Texans are going to surprise people and keep it closer than what people might think. So I think Baltimore's going to be a little rusty to start, just like normal in these divisional round games where they're like a 1 seed and have a bye. So yeah, just look out for CJ, dude. That dude is composed, and I think he's going to come in there trying to prove himself again, and he'll want to dice it up.
So I haven't learned my lesson, and I'm going to pick the AFC North team to win because I, again, don't trust the defense of Houston. I think CJ Stroud's going to have himself a great game. I don't think he's going to be the reason they lose at all. But I think that Baltimore's defense is better than Houston's. And so when it comes down to it, I just don't trust that defense to hold Lamar Jackson. There's too many ways that they can score for that defense to handle. And I think that this year they have some great building blocks to go off of, and they have some great pieces they can add to fix the defense a little bit more, just make it, another tier better. But I just don't think that they're there this year. So I'm going to go and pick Baltimore to host the championship game. As much as I hate doing it, I'm going to have to.
I've got Baltimore winning too, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think
I do think it will be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I just don't. I think that Houston's defense is going to be the reason that they just can't stop. They can't get that crucial stop at the end of the game that they need. That's what I think is going to happen. So
yeah.
I think that's going to be an electric game. I do think that's going to be a really good game to watch, especially if you like good quarterback play, like good dynamic quarterback play. I think that's going to be a good game to watch because CJ Stroud has it. Lamar Jackson can do it. So I think that it's going to be a good game.
Yep.
San Francisco
And then next week,
hosting our
San
Green Bay
Francisco, Green
Packers.
Bay. Fox has the broadcast again for whatever reason.
It's because
Can't
it's
wait
an
to hear
NFC
Jimmy
game.
Johnson. Yeah, I know, but can't wait to hear Jimmy Johnson somehow like
Make it about the
root for the
Cowboys.
49ers at halftime. Or make it about the Cowboys. Yeah, which I mean they will that entire broadcast. It's gonna be a fucking train wreck. But
Fucking joke.
yeah, dude, I like we've already previewed this game. I don't think there's anything more that we can say besides
Nope.
just making our predictions.
Yep.
Dude, I'm gonna go with the Packers again. It's homer pick, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's be closer than the Dallas game. But dude, something about it, man. I just think like I'm just gonna roll with them, man. I'm picking them to beat them. They're gonna get the curse off their back, monkey off their back, whatever, and they're gonna be playing in the championship game. Holy shit,
I
that's what I got.
I don't want to say this. I really don't.
No, you're not. You're not.
But I have to agree with you.
You're not.
I don't want to jinx
Ah!
it, but I have to agree with you. I think that like the 49ers when they lay an egg, they lay an egg. And they've had their strings of consistency, they've had their strings of not as consistent, and they got an interesting team dynamic over there, but I think that the Packers are building something and they have the momentum right now. I think the Packers
Oh my
are
god.
they're playing for more than just a berth in the championship game. They're playing for a lot more than that, I think. And I think they just maybe they might just want it just a little bit more. And that's all it takes for
Oh
me. I
my
think it's
god.
going to be a really close nail biter type of game that comes down to one big play. But I really don't want to say this because I really don't want to jinx it. But I think I'm going to have to go Packers on this one. I have to take the homer pick.
Yes. Dude, holy fuck. Can you imagine? Could you imagine?
Championship game. Here we come. Let's do it.
Could
Let's
you
go.
imagine? Holy fucking shit, that'd be crazy.
Ooh.
Gotta go homer pick though. We can't stop now. We can't stop now. We can't.
Right, you gotta right. I think there's something special
Let's
brewing
go.
over there. That might I'm hoping I'm
Yep.
right. I'm praying I'm right. Oh, I'm nervous about this one. Oh, it's gonna be a nail biter.
Oh man.
All
Yep.
right, moving on to the Sunday games.
the
Right,
next-
we've got the
Yep.
AFC
Tampa,
3 and
Tampa Bay and Detroit is the morning game.
Oh yeah, so we've got the 3 and 4
the
seed.
afternoon game.
Here we go, going to Detroit.
Yes. So I will be on an airplane flying back from Minneapolis during this game. So unless Delta's got it on the video thing, I probably won't be watching this one. But
You'll be
yeah,
here
I
in
mean, you
spirit.
got Tampa Bay. Yeah, you got Tampa Bay heading up to Detroit. Those Detroit fans are going to be raucous again, I have a feeling.
Oh, they're gonna be electric.
Yeah, they play in a dome, so the weather, spoiler alert, the weather won't impact the game unless it's like the team can't get to the stadium. Honestly, dude, I'm happy for Tampa Bay. Their defense is fucking insane right now, but I just think Detroit's the more complete team. I got Detroit winning this game. Dan Campbell's going to like fucking gargle like a container of nails before the game and shred his throat, spit blood up and be like, we're gonna beat those fuckers. That's what he's gonna do. So
He just gave us our title.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have to agree, but for different reasons. I think Detroit and Tampa Bay are very evenly matched. I think the quarterback play is evenly matched. You know, Baker, it's very hit or miss. He's either going to play amazing or meh, and I think that's about what you get out of Jared Goff as well. And I just think the home field advantage kind of rears its ugly head here, and that's just enough to squeak Detroit over the edge, just the same way that they were able to squeak past LA. I think that they've got a lot of talent on the outside receiver wise, and they can squeak out a win here, maybe with the last second field goal. But I do think this is going to be probably the best game out of them all. I think that this one's going to be like the most I think this one's going to be like the most energetic game out of all of them. We're going to see interesting stuff happen, I think. So this is the one that I think would be like, if you had to get tickets to one of these games, like if you were just a neutral fan throughout all of them, if you had to get tickets for one game, I think this one would be the game to go to. That it's going to be electric in there. and I think that's just that's going to be enough. I think so. I'm taking Detroit by a field goal.
Yeah. Yep. I think you're right too. It's gonna be a close one, I think. But yeah, I mean, Dan Campbell's gonna he's gonna do something
Gargle a
crazy
container
before
of
the game to get
nails.
them pumped up. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
quote of the day. All right, last game. This is the one that I am most excited for as a closet Buffalo fan. You've got the Chiefs finally traveling in the playoffs to go take on the Buffalo Bills in Bills Mafia country. Um, the heart of Bills Mafia, Orchard Park, covered in snow. It's gonna be another cold one.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, I think I've gone on the record on this podcast before saying Josh Allen chokes in the playoffs, and I just hope that doesn't happen again. Um, I I'm picking the Bills to win this game, um, and I think it's really honestly because it's at home for them. I think even as bad as Kansas City's receivers have been playing this year, I think if this game was in Arrowhead, I just don't. I think Joe Burrow has, or not Joe Burrow, Josh Allen has too many ghosts there. Um, Past like playoff blunders, and I just think like the fact that it is at home, I think, is what gets them over the edge. I think that the fans are going to be insane. They're going to be loud. They're going to be taunting Mahomes all game, and I got a lot of faith in the Bills, man. They're going to win this one, and I don't
So,
think it's going to be close.
um, I look back to I believe it was week like 13 or 14 when the Bills and Chiefs played each other. It was towards the end of the season, maybe a little bit before that, but the Kadarius Toney infamous offsides play, right? Obviously, that play
Yep.
doesn't just lose the game for them immediately. It wasn't the last play of the game or anything, but it set the tone for a loss, and the Chiefs went on to lose that game. The Bills were pretty evenly matched with the Chiefs, but they had to kind of do some Josh Allen magic at the end in order to take the lead in that one. And I think something similar is going to have to happen here for Josh Allen to win, finally get the monkey off his back and advance to a conference championship game again. And um, I think he can do it. I think it's at home, so both teams can play in the cold. I don't think the weather is going to be that much of a factor. Like it's going to be cold, but it's Kansas City and Buffalo. They're used to it. It's not going to be like the Dolphins. They're both ready for it. They both won in the cold last week. I think Josh Allen just wants it more. If you watched the highlights of the Buffalo and Pittsburgh game, he looked angry. He didn't like he just looks like a guy who just wants it. And I think that attitude is contagious. And the deeper you get, and when you see results with it, I think that team gets fierce. And that's what you need against Kansas City. Don't let Patrick Mahomes get on schedule. Because, I mean, he can beat you by being a dynamic playmaker, but this year that hasn't been there, right? Whether it's been like dumb penalties or drops from the receivers or something, or just things not clicking right. If you can force them into that, because Miami never did. Miami never forced Patrick Mahomes to be Patrick Mahomes. And if the Buffalo defense can do that and just force them into these moments where they have to be dynamic off schedule, I think we're going to see the Chiefs that we've seen all year kind of pop out. You can't hide in the playoffs when you're playing teams that are good and want it that bad. And Buffalo wants it bad. Josh Allen is angry, and he wants this monkey off his back. He wants he wants to go and compete for a championship, and I think that that's gonna show. So I'm taking Buffalo in a close one where, again, just like the Detroit Buccaneers game, I'm taking it to be just like a field goal or something, where like a play needs to be made at the end. And I just think that one thing is going to happen: either a play needs to be made at the end and Josh Allen's going to be able to do it, pull it off, and just do his Josh Allen magic, or it's going to be on the other side and they're going to force Patrick Mahomes to do something dynamic, and the receivers rear their ugly head.
Yep.
So,
our championship games predictions right now are Bills at Ravens and Packers at Lions.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Hot damn!
I can't
Hot
wait
damn.
for
That'd be a
I
great
can't wait
Sunday
for it to not be at all what happens, but Just kidding.
Yeah.
100%
Right.
accurate. 100%
Yeah.
accurate, folks. It's gonna be good. I
Oh
think it's gonna
man.
be good. It's gonna be an electric weekend of football. I do think the teams that are like deserve to be there are there. There isn't a team in the wild card round that lost that I just went, oh, they should have been there. So, as much as I
Yeah.
hate the Chiefs, if Buffalo can knock the Chiefs out of it, then I'm happy for whoever wins. But obviously, I'm a Green Bay bias. I want them to win more, but I won't be angry at whoever goes and wins it all. So,
No. It's like it's like they say, right? Divisional round is the best weekend of football.
I think so. Yeah.
So,
And this year especially, like
really excited
there's
for the
always
weekend.
like at least one team that kind of squeaks in and makes some noise, but this year it really feels like all the teams that are there deserve to be there. So,
Yep, 100%.
um, that's our predictions for this week. So stick around next week. We're gonna break down the divisional round. Obviously, we're going to go in depth on the Packers game again, win or loss. Might be some tears, might be some celebrating. We don't know yet. And we're going to preview the conference championships and
Yeah.
get ready for the end of an NFL season that has been electric at the least. So, any final words there?
Yeah, here we go.